Happy Sunday. I'm losing track of time. You see it. AWS Certified Security Devsecops. That actually is the security badge. So, how's everybody doing? You know how we doing. If you got any cybersecurity questions, just drop them in the box. We can pivot over to them. So, just trying to get motivated today. I was on a few streams yesterday. I'm wore out, but once again, I'm going to talk a little bit about certifications, specifically AWS certifications. So then we'll walk through a few things and answer a few questions and give you a little background on on me, and I guess only broke down. Okay, just checking me out. I see that's cool. See Fridge in the house. I don't know if he's still here. Welcome. I saw him yesterday on Citizens Lose channel. Like I said, I'll be moving around. So once again, if you got any questions on cybersecurity in general, just once again put them in the chat. We can chop it up. So just kind of get it started while a few people fall in. Professor Black Ops. I've been in IT for 30 plus years. I've been doing security about 15. I got a bachelor's in computer science in 1990. Got an MBA in 95. Started off as a junior programmer, worked my way up from programmer, DBA, system admin, web admin. So I've done a lot of different jobs. So like I said, been in the game. What's up, Black Dub 21? JM in the house. Glad you can make it on your new certificate. I appreciate it, man. I decided to grind and go ahead and get them. Like I said, I think I'm gonna need to switch jobs pretty soon, and we'll get into that. I wouldn't get a lot of hits on my resume at first. Once I got the couple AWS certs, now my inbox is full. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, currently I'm a security analyst, specifically a federal compliance analyst. I do a lot of IRS. It's called Pub 1075, which is compliance. It's similar to HIPAA from the IRS. So I've been looking at AWS for our vendors and checking them out and seeing what services will qualify for certain compliances. So I've been doing AWS off and on. So I was like, oh, let me go back to building and developing stuff like when I was younger. So once again, if you got any IT or cybersecurity questions, just drop them in the box and going to get started. So, and like I said, there's a lot of people, doing AWS and getting AWS. So there's a lot of good content around. So you definitely can't beat that. So we'll go over the three I got at a high level. We go over to them. I got the practitioner, the associate architect, and that one that you're looking on the screen right now, the AWS Certified Security Specialties cert. Right? I've been doing security for 15 years, so it wasn't easy, but I'm not saying it wasn't super easy, but most of the things that was on their test that I've done before or looked at before. So that kind of, made it a little less daunting. So if you see on the screen, and we're just going to touch at it, I usually work for big companies, big organizations. I used to work at the Department of Defense. I worked out there for 11 years, and we had, I want to say, 400 plus programmers in 5 different states. So I'm usually working on big projects. So a lot of times when you tell people you were a solution architect, and we're going to go through all the AWS certifications at a high level, just look at them. When you go to a large organization, they got a chief technology officer, they got a program of development, they got a QA team, UX team, a backend team, a development team. So when you come in there, a lot of times they already have their architecture and stuff spun up, right? So when you go in as a solution architect a dev or even a developer or operations, right? The chief technology officer are already set your plate, right? So you just trying to make his vision become fruition, right? Bringing best practices with your cert and with your experience, right? So a lot of people think, oh, you solution architect, you get to go in there and pick out the solution. That usually is a no. The chief technology officer is going to usually lay out or head of programming is already coming. Especially most companies been in business, they already got their technical debt and legacy debt. Do the tech, iron the security plus and Splunk. You got a what's up, Paul? You got a Splunk certification, or you just learning Splunk? A good friend of mine actually is a Splunk engineer, so I'm probably going to interview him in the next month. Splunk is definitely a great technology to sim. My only issue with Splunk is I had two large customers, and they said it was too expensive, so they got rid of it. So that's my only issue with Splunk. Like I said, it's the 800-pound gorilla. It's the AWS of SIMs, but a lot of times you got to have big pockets to mess around with Splunk. That's cool. Yeah, I actually, one of my buddies actually works for Splunk, I think, as a sales engineer. Do you work in Splunk right now? But no, like I said, I've looked at Splunk. I think we looked at it to see if we wanted to buy it. Like I said, it was just a little pricey. So once again, when you come up with the chief technology job, he's going to lay your vision down. You as a architect or engineer or whatever, you're going to take his vision and lay it down for the company. Yeah. Um, So this is the first one I got. So we're just gonna go at a high level. I like how they did. Scope is broad, depth is shallow, right? So we're gonna look on their you're gonna look on a lot of their services. They're gonna touch on each one of the services you're gonna look at. I think AWS has over 200 services. So I think on Practitioner, we looked at the strong, I'm kind of probably the strong 20, 25. It just kind of touched on, everything from deployment to the databases to the different adventures. So once again, they have a ton of stuff. So to sit for the cloud practitioner, 6 months of fundamental AWS Cloud and the industry knowledge. All right. So I thought it was a perfect cert. I haven't sit for a cert before then. If I got, I think it was Security Plus in 2005, maybe 2006. That's the last one I sat for. I also sat for the CISP and I missed it by like 6 questions. So that's one reason I wanted to take the AWS Foundation, to get my feet wet. I remember I used what's up, casual. I'm glad you could make it. So that's one reason I sat. Like I said, it's the introductory cert. Like I said, get my feet wet. Once again, I like taking that cert because as a security guy, I really want to just know about all the services and figure out which ones are secure or not secure, which one could pass a HIPAA certification or FISMA DoD certification. So that's one reason I wanted to hit the cloud practitioner to make sure I was fundamentally sound on a lot of AWS services. And this is the big one a lot of people first try to get. A lot of people skip the foundation and either try to get one of the 1 years of experience. Some implementing solutions using AWS Cloud, solution architect, developer, and sysops. All right, and we're going to dig down to each one. Somebody asked me, I'm going to ask you that question is, from a job perspective, what's the difference between each one of these kind of in an IT setting, in a business setting, right? What's the difference between becoming a solution architect, a developer, and a sysop administrator, right? Check out Cyber Insight, JB. I think he's doing a lot of videos on sysop administrator. I think he's coming more from a network background. So once again, here, once broad but medium depth, right? We're not shallow. We digging deep, but we're not going as deep, right? That's the associate, right? You're not the prime. You're associate. You've been in there for a year, and once again, you got solution architect, the developer, sysadmin, still broad, but you're going a little deeper, right? In each one of those categories. Now we're talking about the professionals, the big dog. 2 years of comprehensive experience, which is really not enough. You go on solution architect, then you go on a DevOps engineer. You go on broad and deep now when you get to both of these, right? The solution or the DevOps engineer, right? What's the difference between DevSecOps and DevOps? And we're going to dig down in there with some more slides, but at the high level, DevOps is when you put your development in production, right? We're talking about going in and building your jar files, Java, C Sharp. You're building your infrastructure and you're doing the carrying and feeding in form of development part of that. All right. So you got your code out there, you got your Apache, you got your IRS. I'm sorry, your IIS, not IRS, IIS for Microsoft. And so you have your application out there. So the development part of that, you make sure you develop and run right. Then your operations, you got your Linux, your Windows, you make sure operating, you're making sure they're scaling up and down, right? That's the development operation. The sec part of that is, and I'm gonna dig more into that, security. How are you authenticating that? Are you doing encryption in the database? Are you doing encryption and at rest and in transit in the database and in the app tier and the web tier, right? What level of encryption are you doing? I do federal compliance with the IRS. Are you meeting the IRS Pub 1075 security compliance in that development environment, Paul? From a DevOps, it could be running right? But when you get out of it, they could go, you fail because you didn't have encryption. Once again, I do federal encryption. It's called Pub 10. I'm sorry, FIPS 140-2 means encryption that's been approved by the government. So each one of those encryption modules that you're using to encrypt your data must have been certified by the government, right? DevOps don't care about that. They said it's encrypted, right? DevSecops, the security part about it is like, hey, we got to pass HIPAA, man. You got to use better encryption. So that's where the security part comes in, Paul. And we're going to dig in a little more. Let me know if that answers your question at a high level, right? So the security part about it is encryption, authentication. Are you getting federated? Are you using people's Facebook password to get in your app, or you storing passwords in the clear? Are you using MFA? Is that a requirement, right? DevOps, they really don't care, right? They care, but from a compliance part, they're like, it's working. Security's like, we got to meet compliance. That's not secure. We need MFA. We need 15 character passwords, 3 upper, 3 lower, right? So that's where the security part comes in. So once again, the professional level, 2 years of experience. We're going to talk solution architect versus the DevOps engineer, where once again, broad and deep, right? We dig down in there, right? So then the specialties, right? I've done security. That's how I make, as they say to kids, that's how I get my bag is the security, right? So these are the specialties, right? Advanced networking, database, data analytics, machine learning. Shout out to engineering academies, AI, ME, data analytics and machine learning. So they're giving you certifications to make sure you have an understanding of that domain. Security, then once again, they actually have SAP as a database with specially running in AWS, right? So I definitely wanted to get to security. I'm for 15 years. It was, those scenarios were pretty tough. But once again, I passed, so I was excited. I think I studied for about a month. Once again, though, but I've been doing this for 15 years, right? Salute to Helmut Chili. Nice seeing you again. I think I seen you about three YouTube channels yesterday. So once again, database, we're going to dig in there. So we're just going to touch on it. A solution architect is going to understand security at a decent level, but like we said, it's not going to get in deep. They're not going to talk about certified encryption. They're not going to talk about assuming roles or SSH keys or encryption in the S3 bucket. What level is it? Is it FIPS, right? Those are when you start digging a little deeper into the security of it and need the security specialty cert. Got the good luck, him. You can do it, man. Once again, once I got these certs, I was applying for jobs. I was getting mostly ding letters. Once I got these certs, I wasn't even getting interviews for a lot of jobs, right? I understand too is I'm old and people know I want a lot of money, right? I'm 50, I'll be 54 this year, right? So once I put the certs on though, it seems to pick up, and I've been getting a lot more opportunities of companies reaching out to me, right? So and once again, we're gonna dig down more, and I'm gonna hit these three again, though, right? So cloud practitioner, Bravo, associate certification level, architect, professional. I'm hoping to take this probably in 6 months. Probably DevOps and take the solution broad and deep, right? You're gonna have to get it going on, get it popping, as my homie would say on Women in Linux, and write this research. So I decided to get those three, and since I was studying, it was going well. I'm studying for currently now the developer associate. So I'm hoping to get the developer associate, and on the specialty one, get the database and maybe the advanced networking. I got a second interview with Deloitte and Touche, and they were asking me a lot of things about networking. Long story short, shout out to the man, Dewan Lightfoot. He does a lot of networking. Lab every day is most companies, and like I said, I work for a big state agency. We have our on-prem and our AWS. So we go through and hook them up, VPN tunnel. This one's called Direct Connect. This is a way to hook your on-prem to your cloud and make it look like one network. I guess a lot of companies are struggling with that and understanding that from a security perspective. So I think that's actually a hidden gem, getting into networking with AWS and matching it up with your on-prem, right? So once again, the specialty search narrow and deep. So I'm hoping maybe to get 5 AWS certs. I don't know if that's greedy, but I'm kind of rolling. The study's going well, so so we'll give it a shot. So let's see what JM has here to say. With automation and the clouds becoming the normal, networking is still important since architects need to know the different things and networking can affect it. Oh no, you're right, JM. The problem with that is I think a lot of solution architects take that for granted. They assume the network guys is going to hook that up and figure that out, and their solution for them, they're just going to do a solution, and they're not going to worry about how it's going to connect on-prem in the cloud, right? The networking guys need to make that look like one network, right? Then two, you can be in multiple regions. You can be in a region in Europe and a region in I think they got one in Silicon Valley, right? And make it look like one network. All right. So you got to remember, solution architect sometimes just gives the solution, and the DevOps guys are supposed to do that, or the database specialty guys are going to make the lock it down, right? So I think when you talk really getting the bag is, like you said, understanding that whole chain and each one of those domains at a very high level, so you can at least understand the whole architecture, right? It's this side by minute. So I'll be in wherever live. Now I feel you. I agree with that. We're talking about that part needs to go. I just think it is what it is. With y'all, I know other people like that drama, so it is what it is. A complete list. Let's see. So still they have its own private cloud. Amazon just mentioned does Amazon has its own cloud. DoD has its own cloud, but they're actually migrating most of theirs to Amazon. If you go out there, a lot are not really hip to this. Amazon actually has something called Amazon Gov Cloud. It's data centers specifically for government agencies because they have to meet a certain requirement. Commercial vendors and regular companies can't get to it. It's specifically for government agencies, right? And they charge you for a pretty penny because they have particular encryption is going to be in there. Certain encryption for certain database is going to be in there. It's not going to be in a commercial. So it's both. I've actually been in DoD's private cloud, but they're moving it because those data centers are super expensive. So AWS, shout out to GCP, shout out to Azure. They all have their own government clouds now for government clients. Federal and state just have so many agencies that they don't want to manage those data centers, so they're moving those to they got a government cloud, so you actually have to be invited to get in those data centers, If you go out there and look, I forgot, I think it was called the JAB. It's a joint council, and they invite certain people, like IBM's in there, certain products in there that's already approved by the government. And to get in there, it's called FedRAMP, right? You got to get your data center FedRAMP approved. Then if government's going to use certain products, once again, those products have to be invited to come into the AWS Government Cloud. I know I had vendors I actually had to get invited right through the IRS to get them to go to cloud so we could use their services. Right, the vendors like it because they want to sell to the government, but it's a hassle and it's super expensive. What's up, brother Michael? Glad you can join us. Let me know if they're making. But yeah, they have the DoD has a private cloud, but they're moving all their stuff to AWS and Azure. If you look, I might Google that at the end. AWS just won a $10 billion contract from the government because they just tighten those data centers. Because when you manage them, you got to staff them, right? So they just want to cut all that out. They just want to, like most businesses now, they just want to worry about the intellectual property of their ideas program and worry about their programming and their code. And let AWS handle the data centers, the infrastructure, and spin up stuff. So I'm trying to get you fact. I'm trying to tell that John which cloud service is bigger in DoD, AW. I have no idea, Black Dove. I'm gonna say AWS. Just guessing because the government just gave them a $10 billion contract, and people forgot AWS got a 15-year head start. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm going with AWS, like I said, because they've been around the longest, and all the vendors we used when I was at DoD were going in AWS. I think Azure has gotten a lot better. I think they got their infrastructure up, so they're winning a lot of bids too. Oh no, facts. I love Oracle. Oracle just kind of a second tier player in that helmet channel. They're good because they buy so many companies, and they're making all those packages they buy services, right? Because I think I told a lot of this. I was an Oracle DBA for 10 years. I made my first bag doing Oracle Forms and Report as a developer, going into a DBA role and kind of becoming an architect of those type of systems when I was at DoD and when I was in private sector. I worked at a Fortune 500 insurance company doing Oracle. So I done Oracle probably for the first probably decade of my life. That's how I made my first six-figure job, was doing Oracle. Shout out to Larry Ellison, man. I love doing Oracle PL SQL. Man, I've done that for years. I could do it in my sleep. I love Oracle database. It's kind of becoming legacy because if you look at Oracle now, I think they rank number 5 as a database. Super expensive, super powerful. But as the years went by, other databases, I wouldn't say got as good, but hardware so much better, right? There was no SSD RAM. I mean, platters back then. You put Oracle SSD, you running that stuff damn near pure memory, right? So, now him. Shout out to Oracle though. Oh yeah, if you look though, I looked over the last 5 years. I think they bought 200 companies. Yeah, Larry Ellison, he's gonna buy stuff. Oh, Cisco. What do I think about Cisco? Cisco is the 800-pound gorilla in there. It is the AWS of networking. Usually, if you're in a big company, a large company, I would say 80% of that market is ran by Cisco, especially at the federal level. I love Cisco. It's just one of those things for me. I work with our networking team. So once we got them in a 3-tier network and we got our subnets done, we got our database networks done, we got our firewalls and our traffic done, it just kind of runs for me, Bob BMC. But now that's the stuff. Those dudes get paid. Now you talking about dudes getting the bag and getting paid. Cisco guys are getting paid, man. And you can actually run Cisco routers inside AWS to really make your on-prem and your AWS cloud. They get a lot of functionality you do not get with the default AWS VPC setup. So they're still, like I said, they're the 800-pound gorilla. They're still dominating in the industry. So that's definitely it. So now Cisco's it. Shout out to Network Bruh. He's always labbing every day. So if you want some of that, check out Network Bruh, BRUH. He's always getting down. I'm usually in there giving him security checks. So we kind of collab. So I'm always on this channel in his Discord. Once again, Cisco's they have algorithm. So we just looked at each one of these certs kind of at a high level, depth, breadth, and of the services. We were talking about the let's see. Let me before I get into that. So we see the certs. You see the foundation professional, different works, different things. So let me read this, and I'll kind of break down the difference. What I see between an architect, and it tells you there between architect, operations, and development at an associate level. You have a lot of people saying certs aren't worth it. What you have to say about that? And I have friends getting into IT with certs. What should he get into the cloud computing network and hands-on and so on? That's an excellent question, and everybody has their point of view. Let me reiterate: I work for Fortune 500 companies. I work for very large companies. They use certs as a requirement to get those jobs. To work for DoD, you can Google it. It's called 8570. You have to have a cert with a particular specialty to work certain jobs, red pill finance. So I know a lot of people are saying that to work in stuff, you at least have to have a cert, right, to work in that job. So if you Google, I might Google this at the end of 8570. It tells you need a cert for qualifying. I think some certs are better than other certs. I think some certs are harder to get. I think some certs are more valuable than other ones, right? So we have this discussion before and all the times. Certs versus degrees, right? You're gonna need something to get a job. If you don't have a degree, you're gonna need a cert. If you don't have a cert, you're gonna need a degree. Now, granted, some people got hookups, some people gonna get around that. But for you to go in, even a help desk job now, right? They want you to have a cert or a degree or some background, even if it's entry level. So that's my 2 cents on that red pill finance. I know some people disagree with me, but once again, if you Google 8570, I do government's contracts, government work, right? I like that bag, right? It has a barrier around it. You got to be have certain paperwork. You got to have a background check. You got to be a United States citizen or have a green card, right? So that type of work gives you a barrier to entry, and the pay's pretty good if you work for a consulting company and they put you at an assignment. Once again, I've been doing consulting work for, oh my God, now 25 years, right? So I've been in this game a long time. So that's my 2 cent red pill finance. Like I said, and I'm cool with, I can agree to disagree. I'm not going to pull up on anybody. I'm not going to yell on anybody, right? Those are my facts and those are my truth. I have a lot of years in this experience. My contract was going up, so I was applying to jobs. I wasn't getting a lot of callbacks, right? Until I passed these 3 certs. Now I can't keep people out of my inbox. I haven't learned it, I've learned some skills getting the certs, but most of those skills I had before I got the cert, right? Now I can speak in the AWS terminology, right? But I done most of that before I took the certs, right? So once again, we're appeal. Throw some more questions in there. That's my 2 cents on it. What's up, game over? Let's see. I'm trying to work my. So, Ruben asked me these 3. We kind of talked about this. So when the CTO comes in and says, "This is my vision, and this is my three guys with associate level starts working right." The solution architect's going to lay out a solution that meets kind of the CTO's vision, what technology stack he has, what compliance he's going for, how big he thinks he's going to grow, and what future markets that he's going to get into, right? And I just heard this. A solution architect going to be talking with the C-suite. He's going to be talking to TO, the CIO and the Chief Security Information Officer, right? Because he needs to get those requirements and build what they need to, right? The developer, right, still on the same associate level, the associate is going to say, here's your Apache, here's your IS, here's your, like I said, Apache, you doing PHP, C Sharp, Oracle, whatever programming you're using. The solution architect is going to have a very deep understanding of programming, right? Like I've done Java for 10 years off and on, right? Well, solution architect's not going to do that, right? That's going to be the developer that's going to handle the programming part. Are you going to do micro services? Are you going to do a monolithic? What are you going to connect with? Are you doing Lambda? Are you doing serverless? Or are you doing traditional J2EE? Are you doing traditional IIS? Are you going to do PHP? All that's going to come out from the developer part, right? Not architect. The solution architect's going to set all your servers up, spin up your Apache, use Elastic Beanstalk, right, to make sure you have failover. We were talking about site reliability managers. If this data center goes down, it's automatically going to flow over, right? You're going to connect to all it's your pipeline. Oops, seems like your stream has connection issues. We're having problems. I'm getting a couple errors from from Restream. Let me back up. But yeah, so let's see. Then two is the sysop. One, pick that, and then you say I'm running on EFS. I'm doing this type of communication to sysop. How am I going to back the data up? Is it on 5 instances, or we're going to put this on an EFS mounted database like a NAS, right? That's where your sysops come in, right? They're going to get the detail level of that, right? So each one of those associate architects really has a different job in your organization, right? So I went for the solution architect. I'm usually talking to the C-suite and developing, getting those requirements, right? Once it gets spun up, done, and your pipeline developed, the developer is going to write the code, make sure the microservices talk to each other. Are you doing serverless, right? And part of that, what are you running as serverless? Are you on Linux, Windows, right? That's where your sysops come in and make sure they have the right memory, they're the right size, they're the right communications. A little bit about networking. We doing a transit gateway? We doing a direct connect? How is that encrypted from on-prem to off-prem, right? A lot that's going to go to the sysop. And once again, now we're getting into specialties, right? Security, right? What type of database we're using? Are we doing MongoDB, SQL Server, Oracle, right? That's where your database specialty. Let me get my big head out the way. That's where your Oracle specialty is going to come at. Then how's that going to look, right? When you start digging out. Right, so these guys are going to have much more depth, even than right. So that's kind of how labs kind of play together. Let's see, what's up? Game over. Some companies require degrees, especially out there. Yeah, but certs about you preaching to the choir, right? I know people are accepting certs like degrees because a lot of degrees, like when I did computer science, I think it was 40 hours. So I had to get 90 hours of stuff that really wasn't sociology, psychology, health, right? Now that really made me a better programmer, but I had to get it, Chemo. You know, so that's my 2 cents on that. That's my man cert. So to go hand in depends. No, I think you should use them together because I got my computer science degree in 1990. Right? I was doing Pascal, assembler, COBOL, PL1, little Ada, which became PL SQL. Most programming languages I learned that doesn't exist anymore, right? So that's one part too. So that's why you got to get the search, to keep up to date, right? Then shout out to engineering. We got machine learning in there, and then we got data analytics. If you want to get those specialty certs, right? engineering cannabis doesn't need him because he has in-depth knowledge in there, right? As an architect and trying to get at the top DevOps, I know I have to give him data, so I might get that machine learning and that data analytics certs, right, to help me communicate better with engineering cannabis, right? Because if I'm doing DevOps and solution ops, I need to have those skills to make sure I get engineering cannabis the slices of data he needs with the data he needs to train his machine learning and artificial intelligence and data analytics. I gotta have the environment set, and we're gonna look at some of those environments at the end. Kev Tech, I'm all about those certs, man. Somebody just asked the question again. Shout out to Kev Tech about the cert subs you passed. All right, then. Yeah, I had one cert. Then, like I said, I was switching jobs, and I think the HR was booting me out. Kev Tech, so I went ahead and got a Cloud Practitioner. I was getting like a cert a month. I got Cloud Practitioner, Solution Architect Associate, and Security Specialty over there, and I'm currently studying for my Developer Associate right now. So I'm hoping to get that one in 60 days, and I think I'll be cert out. Then the two big dogs at the top. I'm interviewing with Deloitte right now, so hopefully I'm gonna get this. I don't know to work for Deloitte, but I made it to the second phase, so we try to figure out if we're gonna do work. Right, depends on the company, of course. Always depends on the company. I just like getting certs even at a high level because it just kind of, tells HR, that you do have. But two is let's roll this back. I met people with certs that I thought were horrible. So you still gotta work on your craft. You still shout out to Kev Tech and Engineer Kev. You still gotta work on your fundamentals. I'm 53 and I'm over here building a 3-tier network on 3 different data centers with an application load balancer, checking my failover, doing different regions, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. I took the DNS and made it fail over from the East to the West Coast, right? Because I'm working on my craft. You can have certs and be garbage just because you can pass a test. Let's be realistic. These AWS terms, I grinded hard. I was going through 500 test questions. I'm still building stuff, labbing every day. I only got 65 questions, man. So let's be. I still want people to understand you still got to work on your fundamentals because, and Kev Tech knows this, and engineering cannabis comes in. And I tell people this is how I make my money. When shit goes down and you got to figure it out on the fly, these test questions, these certs, you're going to have to roll your sleeves. Okay, this EC2 is not communicating. Oh, this security group is blocking. Oh, this whole data center is down. Oh, this programmer put out some wrong code and just effed everything up. You got to be able to figure that out on the fly, right? So search is just the baseline saying you have basic fundamental knowledge. But especially I'm sure Kev Technique, I'm old enough, man. I seen whole data centers out, man. You got to figure it out. Or somebody put a release out and they trying to figure out what happened. So, right? That's when you have to dig in and show your skills, right? So that's the one. The first one was the practitioner. So you got cloud security and compliance at a high level. Once again, depth, super wide, looking at a lot of services. Technology, 33%. And you got to check on your pricing. How are you getting billed? Can you save money? Should you reserve? You can reserve instances for 1 or 3 years. You get like a 72% discount if you do that, right? Like anything, if you pay up front, right? So these are some of the things that they take application. Practitioner, explain the value AWS, their responsibility model, best practices, cloud cost economics and billing practices, describe positions in core AWS services, compute network, database storage, AWS common services use cases, right? I still continue reading statistics live every day. So fundamental, yeah, facts, fundamental, yeah, yeah. So that's what I tell you. Got to keep fundamentals. And two is as you go up the ladder, right? Your fundamentals are different things, right? When I was a programmer, right, I just focused on programming, right? The architects and the networking guy, when I uploaded into Tomcat, I just expect the networking to work and the database to work right. Then as I became a supervisor, now I got to make sure the programming right and the database is right and the networking is right. So you start eating up more of those domains as you go up higher and higher. Right? Thoughts on Microsoft Azure? Right behind AWS. AWS is 1, Azure is 1A. Most companies now, especially if they got Active Directory, Outlook, they're moving that stuff straight to Azure. So get it, one or the other. I think they're 1A and 1B. I'm an AWS first because I think AWS is a little more friendly to Java, Linux, and Unix people. But Azure has got a ton of Linux, a ton of Unix too. Once again, AWS had a 15-year start. Now Azure is right there. Either one of those, you're gonna get a great bag, and you're gonna have a 10-year run if you make the architecture level and get on there, right? I get a ton of Azure jobs in my inbox too, just because I passed the AWS certs. I think a lot of HR said, "Oh, cloud is cloud." No, it's not. But no, Azure is right behind it. I'm a big Azure fan. Shout out to them. Back to walking for me. Like, shout out to you. I'm going on my second walk today. I got to lose some weight, Tech. So I'm gonna be walking probably right after this live. So I'm right there with you, man. PBO got to eat a little better, man. It's the summer. I got to lose some weight. Shout out to Tech. Go check him out. I get most of my subscribers for him, so I don't think anybody's over here that's not gonna know who Tech is. But shout out to Tech. Always give me a shout out on LinkedIn. So anything he needs from me, he has, man. So go check him out, doing great work. Shoot out to my other man, Keep It Techie in the house. We talked a little bit about this yesterday on his channel. That's what made me go ahead and do it. But everybody check out Keep It Techie and Kev Tech. So I think that's the one a lot of people try to get, especially if you look at the money. The solution architect is always up there. So I think that's the one a lot of people want to get. So at a high level, associate's intended for anyone 1 or more years experience of hands-on. You need 1 years of AWS technology, including compute networking, experience deploying, managing, operating workloads on AWS with security controls, CLI, landline, understanding what AWS is called a well-architected framework, AWS networking, security service, global infrastructure, right? So I always tell people, go out there and get that Keep It Techie Linux, come over to AWS, and when you spin up EC2s, that's Amazon Linux. So they go hand in hand. But solution architect, I'd say, is one of the big dogs. It's one of the harder ones to get, and like I said, it's the most lucrative ones to get. So we talked about resiliency, designing resilient architecture, high performance architecture, secure applications optimized, right? So, but if you look in there, we looked at those other specialists, not talking about machine learning, not talking about data analytics. It's really not talking about databases, right? They touch on that at a high level, but they don't dig deep even at the associate architect level, right? Once he designs that, he's going to turn that over to those specialties or somebody with that specialty, right? From a solutions architect. Shout out to Kev Tech. Back to the cardio. Have a good work. Thanks, man. Good to see you. Yep. Shout out to Kev Tech. So, but yeah, so that's the part of the social architect. Those scenarios were rough, though. They give you a ton of scenarios. They doing this is not working. The CTO wants this kind of database. They want a key value, and you got what's your uptime to spin it up if you go down. So right, so there are a ton of scenarios in there. So, but once again, it's the big guy. Security specialty, that's the one I really wanted. Like I said, I live in the security life, so understanding specialized data classification and data protection, understanding data encryption methods, understanding security protocols. We were talking a little bit about understanding knowledge of AWS security services and features of those services to provide a secure production environment. In which you have competency at 2 more years in production, ability to make trade decisions regarding cost, security, and deployment complexities communication requirement, and understanding security operationals and risk. Right? So a lot of times too is like you said, you talk about give and take, money, right? Money's not infinite, right? So what is a high priority? What's a low priority? Can you do something security that's a lot cheaper that will give you 90% of what this other thing was going to cost? It's going to cost you a crazy amount of money, right? So those are the trade-off. And once again, I talked to our CISO and our CIO. So they talk about budgets, money, when they can roll stuff out, when the stuff have to be done. Some of it could be a resource issue, right? We got so many other things. Tech, he had a great interview. So yeah, and so once again, certs versus degrees. I think you should do both, but I think if you get certification, especially in the entry level job, you should let those people into the industry get in the tech. You need more people in the tech. Then for the incident response, the domains are incident response, logging and monitoring, infrastructure security, identity and access management, and data protection, right? So those are the domains. Does network play a role in Devsecops? Yeah, networking plays a role in everything. Yeah, because from a security perspective, connecting on-prem to AWS, I got to make sure that traffic is encrypted. Depending on if we're trying to be HIPAA or FISMA or DoD level, I got to make sure they're using the correct encryption in that networking, right? I got to make sure we have public and private subnets blacked up in that, as from a security perspective, right? So networking plays a huge part in that. Then two is, and Gabe knows this, the big thing now is zero trust. And a lot of zero trust is how you controlling your packets, how you're identifying your devices to get on your network, right? So all that plays in the networking, especially from a zero trust scenario, right? So how long it take to get to AWS, and also do you need a degree? You don't need a degree. And two is it's going to be different for different people, right? So it depends on what level in IT are you in. Like I said, Gabe and engineering cannabis, I'm the oldest red pill fighter. So seriously, I've been in IT since, and I did a video. People were laughing. My first intern was in 1988. I was doing mainframe work in my sophomore year in college. I was working at a state agency doing a JCL on a mainframe, red pill. So it's going to be different for different people, right? So each one of those probably took me a month. But once again, for me, there was very few new technologies I was doing, right? I've been spinning up networks for 20 years. The thing that made it new is the automation part that AWS does with that, right? They do security group. I've been doing IP tables. Shout out to Keep It Techie. I was doing IP chains on Linux before IP tables. So I've been doing security firewalls in Linux for 20 years. So when I had to study it, I knew all those terms, red pill. So I think it just depends. No, I think if you got your AWS certs, you wouldn't need a degree. I think your certs would do that. Now, once you get in and you try to be a supervisor or move up, I think you need a degree. But I think if you have the certs, you can come in and get a high or medium entry level job if you had the proper AWS certs, because they're hard to get. Zero trust and identity store. That's all I've been hearing. Yeah, see, shout out to, I'm gonna drop the link in a minute, Gabe. But yeah, that's all I hear, right? And to be honest, that got me the interview with Deloitte. That's the first thing he talked about was DevSecOps, and we started talking about IAM and zero trust, identity stores, policies, trust policies, east and west traffic, right? So that's the buzzwords. And a lot of times too, now if you know, if AI, if you know the buzzwords, you get facts. I tapes on AO. I'm old, man. 1988, bro. I had a Toyota Celica with the bag, cell phone, and a beeper. That's how long ago. But now this is the DevSecOps. So the part of that is the development on the left, the code planning test. Then once you put it in production, right, you're releasing it, you deploying, you operation, you monitoring, right, to make sure your code is working and operating at the business requirements, right? We got KPIs, SLAs, right? The operations got to adhere to so much uptimes. When a person hits this web page, it should come back in less than 3 seconds, right? Then the part about that people added on was the security part. People were in code that wasn't authenticating right, had too many permissions on it. Russian hackers were taking it over. So that's what the security part of that came in. So that's the point adding to it, right? So what is DevSecOps? I just took this off the internet. So in practice, is a tactical trifecta that connects 3 different disciplines: development, security, and operation. The goal is to seamlessly integrate with security and continuous integration and development pipeline in both pre-production, development, and production operations. Get each discipline and role it plays and deliver it better and more, right? And I think that's what I'm gonna start doing a little more on my channel. I think that's something I kind of want to kind of move into myself a little more. I do more compliance and paperwork. I actually mail stuff, right? So when we talk about the pipeline and building your code, once again, we're going to look at a diagram. That's what happened to Kaseya, right? Supply chain, some hackers software, and affected their customers. 30 entities that do business with their customers involved a breach and believed high confidence that the attack was targeted by an authentication bypass vulnerability, right? That's where and authorization make sure you got it, right. So that's where the part of DevSecOps and the pipeline comes in. Right? Then at the bottom is SQL injection, and that's how I got to the system. But the big deal is DevSecOps controlling their pipeline and hopefully stopping things like that in the future. Right? Now we're talking about pipelines, right? So this is one of the DevSecOps pipelines. And the crazy thing is I put the little notes up in there because I did this by hand in 2000. So it's funny the stuff I did by hand, with automation with AWS. So at the top, I worked at Deal. We were doing Oracle. Somebody was saying we were doing Oracle Case and Oracle Designer. We were using PVCS for our check-in and check-out. Then with those 3 environments, we could we automatically build it in our test environment. Now you can hit a button and AWS will do all that for you quick, right? So in to say a deal, we have to build our software factory before we build the software. Now that's AWS is our factory. So when we talk about pipeline from a DevOps operation, right? This is one of the pipelines, right? Git is just developers checking in their code pipeline. Git is you can check your code in, build it, scan for different stuff. The code build is actually where we build it to put it in the test or production. Right? Before we build it, the DevSec part about the SCA dependency check and Sonar Cube is a PHP scan. These are programs and software that looks for bugs inside your code. So when you check your code in, before we really build it, we're going to run the DevSecOps at that. We're going to run those to see if you have any vulnerability, if you have any known issues that's wrong with your code, right? So that's the pipeline. So part of that build is a static analysis code right there. That's cool, Black Tub. So you could do it with AWS and have it built in. so that's the sort of checking in. You just fire out scripts to do that, right? I dropped the link if anybody want to come up. You see it right there on that. So that's it. My man said they're using it. So we can come to AWS and you check it in. We can fire that out. So if that comes back as good, green, we'll move it. We'll keep deploying on. If that comes back with any bugs, right? Highlight bugs, check them out. We're gonna send it back to developer. We're not gonna let it move through our pipeline, right? So if all those from Sonar Cube and dependency checks, if all that goes through, now we got OWASP top 10, Z attack proxy. It's gonna scan through. It's gonna look through the OWASP top 10. That cassette was in there. It's gonna be looking for broken authentication, command injection, SQL injection, right? All that OWASP top 10 is going to be looking for that. So one has to be security checks, right? And we would put it in at the top. You see staging or production, right? But we're going to run these 3 development checks before we put it in. Hopefully staging. Let's get it in the staging, right? So then once we get it in the staging, the code work, we're going to check Beanstalk, which is AWS services. That's what it built it for you. We're going to spin it off, all right? Then we're going to run test scripts in there, right? There should be tests where and run test, insert a record, insert a bad record, meaning validation should catch it before it gets to the database. So we still gonna run the right up there. And then at the bottom, if you look to the left, let me unhide that. When we run those checks, is my man Smart Cube. If there's any issues, it's going to put it in the Security Hub, which is AWS services, application vulnerability. It's going to list all those checks that are red to review, right? So then, and 2 on the other side of there is AWS config is 12. We're going deeper in the future, right? AWS config is compliant. So if we're running, shout out to Gabe, if we're running the STIG checks on there, it's going to go through the code. I think there's 320 checks. It's going to check your code against those checks and figure out if we got any errors or any issues. If we got any errors and issues in 11, it's going to put those into the Security Hub with application vulnerabilities. And those are called findings, right? And findings usually have different category levels. Some could be high, saying we got to get these fixed, and some of these are low, right? Hopefully we have 0, but they'll never happen, right? So if they're all low, we might talk to Gabe. He's the director of that. He can say, still put it in production. All those low, we got enough compensating controls, right? Go ahead and put it in production, right? But this is kind of the pipeline. When people talk about pipeline and DevOps, this is a high level of what that looks like before we put it into the pipeline. Oh, Tam's coming in criticals. So Tam, I was talking about her, that's why we got to get the AWS. Even though we got the certs, we got to lab every day and make sure our skills are good so we can get that accreditation money, right? Even though because we got the cert, even though your boy cert up, he got to get a little better on a few things. But this is the pipeline, right? So these are the DevSecops pipeline, right? We got the dependency check, the Sonar Cube, and the OWASP part. And as they go through our pipeline, we're running those. If any of those come back, we're going to stop, right? I'm going to give them back to developer, right? But I have stuff where the boss said, these are low, these low security. We need to get this money. We need this release out of here, right? So sometimes that roll up to the big bosses and we have to make a big decision. So shout out to Tam Critical. She's correct. Living that STIG life. Everybody go check out Women in Linux. They be doing big things over there. Definitely on there. So once again, when we talk about pipeline and the DevOps part of that, and shout out to Tim, all of this should be automatic with automation, right? CloudFormation, Ansible. I mean, there's so many products out there, right? So you need to be able to do this with automation so you can repeatable build this anytime, any place, right? High level DevOps with the DevSecops, right? So touch on that. Then we talk about building infrastructure. See that pipeline we just built? This is what is going to be put into when you talk about a production, right? This is a region, right? Each availability zone is a data center. Each region in AWS, they usually have at least 2 availability zones, if not 3. So their application load balancer, right? There's subnets. We're going to have infrastructure in both data centers. If one data center goes down, right? We're talking about site reliability engineers. that your stuff should automatically roll over to availability design. Just dropping it in. Got to go teach a Rust class. Are you teaching it online? Where are you teaching your class at? Can we come later? Can we come to Rust class later? Shout out to Tam. Thanks for dropping by. Let me know if we can come to Rust class. We almost done over here. We're gonna go visit Tam. I don't know if it's a class. We're gonna go visit Tam. But now, when you talk about site reliability and you're talking about solution architect, how do you spin that up with automation? Right? You want to be a multi data center. You automatically be spun up in another one, right? So that's from a solution architect standpoint. From let us know. We come to. I always appreciate it. I'm there bugging her. I know D glad I ain't been in a couple of weeks. I was studying. I know D missed me. Now everybody go check out Women in Linux. They're actually doing great stuff. I'm sure we're gonna collab. I'm gonna start doing some cloud automation for cloud formation automation. So I'm definitely gonna have Tim over here helping me. So I'm sure we're gonna collab. So definitely check out Women in Linux. It should be tossed around if it's not it's not funny. No, you're right. I think you're right. I think we got to put some context between like we talked, like Gabe was talking, zero trust in automation. Man, you got to have it. So part of the automation, right, was this part was in production. Now we got a security OU, and OU is just an organization unit, right? So we're looking at archives. We got security tooling. We got read only. We're looking at IAM policies. We're looking at service level policies at the OU level. We're looking at resource policies with read only, right? Then here's the forensic policy. If something gets hacked or something gets compromised, we need to spin up a EC2 instance, make a copy of it, right? Take a export of it so we have the memory settings and all the settings right from a forensic standpoint, right? So we need to be able to react to that part, right? And we're going to dig down in there. That's more of the DevSecOps, right? So this is your organization. Part of AWS is some kind of organizational units, how you organize your users and groups from an AWS standpoint. Up there is security. What can people use in those particular OUs, and who can and cannot get to them, right? Once again, part of security, part of DevSecOps, right? So and the other part of that, we're wrapping up, right, is AWS EC2s or Linux or Windows operating systems. If you have a system manager, run scripts and up those, watch them, X them. If it can scan them for framework vulnerability, all those vulnerabilities to go on AWS Security Hub. Once again, we just touching on it from a DevSecOps point, and we're gonna dig down to them in different lives and different videos. So, but once again, DevSecOps, you can use AWS System Manager, the run command. If you have 100 EC2s and you tag them as web server, if I was looking for certain web server vulnerabilities, I can use run command and then run on all 400 of those EC2s and come back and let me know if they're vulnerable, right? That's where you get your scanning, your commands, your tagging, right? So you can do operations with automation on different parts of your infrastructure. Right, so I think that's pretty much I had. I'm gonna roll back to the top real quick. Let's see. We was doing the different certs, right? And so just way to get in. Since I had degrees, I thought it was the HR people were booting me out because of my age. So I thought I should get a couple of certs. I think I want to start building and move away from compliance and become a solution architect and actually just start building infrastructure again. Like I said, I've done that for the first 15 years, just building stuff. So from AWS perspective, these are the big ones. Me personally, I'm hoping to get the cloud practitioner, which I got, solution architecture, which I got, security. I want to get to developer and probably the database one. Two is once again, I'm labbing every day. I probably go out on Upworks. We're gonna talk about that in facts. That's where the money's at. Facts. So yeah. So just getting that up, and once again, Tim, we always talk about that building stuff. Automation's the key. I'm in the second interview with Deloitte, and they really want me to do some DevSecOps kind of work for them, maybe too. I may have a job for you at the startup with energy Bob. We could definitely talk about it. I gotta get a little better though. I'm still working. I'm getting it together. But now, shout out to Tim. She always has companies on there looking for certain people and a certain skill set, and that's what we talk about. You need to get these skills. Degrees or certs, but Tim's favorite thing is you got to be able to do the job with the skills. Can you use cloud formation? Can you use Ansible? Can you talk to a CISO or a CTO or CISO, solution architect? You got to be explaining to them what they're building. Now, the CTO probably going to know, but he's still going to want you to take his vision and you got to build it. Most CTOs like, well, I want to do this, I want to run this, and I want to do this, but they probably a lot of times can't build it, right? They came up with programming. They've been in there. They've been more of a manager style, but they know the technology on the stack, or a lot of times is we're leaving this legacy stack and we want to go here, right? So what's the best way to get here? We think we're going to have this many people, this many records. And two is my specialty is we got to report to the IRS. We got to report to HIPAA. We got to report to PCI. So a lot of times your infrastructure, what you build is going to get audited, right? So you got to be able to handle an audit, right? Because that's how I make my money now, right? Can you handle a big boy audit? I had Booz Allen just looking over all my stuff. I passed though. Had some findings, but I passed, right? So that's what we're talking about doing. Like I said, I probably lean more towards DevSecOps with just building. Like I said, I've been doing AWS off and on for probably 10 years. I really want to roll up my sleeves and really get into it. And like once again, there's so many people. I'm definitely going to reach out to Gabe, Black Heights, and just so many people that's in it. JB, because I think JB, Cyber Insights, he's studying for the SysOp administrator. So there's just a lot of people got a lot of skills in here. Right? So I know when I talk to Tim, she's out there, doing stuff. So I can make sure what I'm doing is translating to what people really want and what companies really want and what companies want to pay for. Right? That's really what we want to do this, right? Technology is cool, but I'm kind of chunky. I want to eat. Shout out to me. No, but no, that's it. I dropped the link. I'll drop it again if anybody wants to come up or if you got any more questions on that. Two is there's a lot of people here that I actually sometimes I'm wrong. I'm old, but there's so much technology, so much newer technology. I'm right a lot of the times, but and sometimes too, it's your design. What stack are you comfortable with? But sometimes my stack's old. I got to move into the future. Let's just call it the future, right? Lambda, serverless, IA principles, which was kind of weird to me. Policies from a principle, because I came from a database background. Once again, I was an Oracle DBA for 5 years and did Java programming, so I'm used to coming from that security model out. Now, security, especially IAM, is kind of separate, and you do it from an enterprise thought pattern. So that's a new thing for me, which I'm picking it up. So we all learning, we all getting better. But like I said, I passed, like I said, those certs. But once I've been doing this for 30 years, man, at a pretty high level. So that's why I like when I have conversations with Cam and Gabe and Keep It Techie. Because too, I'm old, but some things I'm set in my ways. I might need to be migrating from. I love Oracle, but that's just not the database I believe of the future, right? Especially Amazon created their own database, right? They pushing everybody to Aurora, right? And a lot of the open source guys, they don't want to pay for it, so they already went MySQL and Postgres. So and now it's the NoSQL and MongoDB guys. So I mean, things change, things happen. So I want everything to have 10. Let me know if you dropping a link. We come to your we come to class on your channel. I don't know if you're doing it on Clubhouse. You be everywhere. I don't know if you're in Clubhouse or Discord. While I'm wrapping it up, nobody came up. It's all cool. If you need to reach out to me, I need to check my email. ProfessorBlackOps@gmail.com. We can always chat it up. If you want to have a private conversation, I always give you 15, 20 minutes. That's what I came here to help people. So it's all good. Once again, Professor Black Ops, please subscribe. Thanks for coming out. And you'll see a lot more. If you need me to focus on a particular topic, just send me an email, and I'm usually pretty open to it. I'm behind. I got to do something with but for the billions on data lakes, and I had something else. Then me and Gay Bay supposed to do red team, blue team, tabletop. So that's still on my list. Stop by. Once again, Monday's here. Let's get the bag. So many smart people, so many good channels. Everybody go out there and check them out. Professor Black Ops, once again.